Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in this week. Today's video is going to be all about how we are preparing for an upcoming 4 or 5 day backpacking trip. Stick around, it's going to be different. So, if you've been following the channel for a while, you already know that we have a plan to hike the last section, Long Lake to Lake Placid, of the Northville Placid Trail. That will be a complete hike for me, and the other guys are actually going to be completing yet another section. So, by the time this video actually comes out, we'll already have been on the trail for a couple days, so surprise! We've all been really busy lately, so it's been hard to get together and kind of talk about how we're going to be approaching the hike. So what I did was something a little different. I asked each of the guys to shoot a small prep video about what they are doing to get ready for our backpacking trip. They sent it to me, and I'm compiling it together, and this is what you get. I hope you enjoy it. It was a lot of fun putting it together, and I really think the guys had a really good time doing it. Heck, I laughed the entire time I was watching and editing, so I guess that's a big win for me anyway. This little guy's been following me for about 10 minutes now. So each of us is preparing a little differently for the hike. I'll go first so that you kind of see what I've been doing. It's a little different this time around than the last Northville Placid Trail trek that I've taken. Due to the pandemic and the desire to keep a lot of people safe, I haven't actually been up to the high peaks at all this year. So it's kind of a huge bummer. Last year, by this time, Mark and I and the guys, just collectively, we'd climbed a number of mountains and had a bunch of miles under our belts. So this year, it's a kind of a bummer. We don't have that warm-up, that pre-hike routine to go through and kind of make sure that we have, built up the endurance to be able to backpack for days on end. So what I've been doing is I loaded up my pack. It's got my whole Northville Placid Trail loadout on it, or in it, and going out and hiking some local pathways. It's been really helpful. It kind of dual purpose, gets me some exercise. Also lets me shake down some of the packing and gear choices that I've made for this last section of the Northville Placid Trail. So it's been really helpful. I also learned a number of things on our trek last year. One of those things was my cook pot, doesn't have any sort of delineation on what 1 cup, 1.5 cups, and 2 cups of water is. So every time I cooked, it would either be super dry or super soupy. That was really a bummer. So I actually took the time before this trip and marked off my pot with 1, 1.5, and 2 cups. I took a Sharpie at first, and then I took my knife and etched into the edge of the pot. That way there won't be any question about how much water I'm putting in for dinner. One of the things I made sure in my prep hiking was that the preserve I took had ups and downs in the terrain so that I could get at least some hills and some flats, so that I'm getting an actual complete workout instead of just walking on the street or whatever. It's good. I'm really glad I decided to do this year. Another thing I did to prepare for this last leg of the Northville Placid Trail hike for me is I learned how to properly do a PCT hang method for my bear bag. As you'll see in the video I'll link, I think it's right up here, I learned how to do it. I feel confident with it. I practiced a lot. I failed a whole lot. But now I have a method. I feel comfortable with it, and I'm pretty excited about bringing the bear bag instead of the bear canister on this leg of the hike. My pack feels so much lighter without the bear canister in it, and we'll see how it goes. I'm pretty confident that we're still going to be able to keep the critters out of the food and make sure everything stays safe with the bear bag. We'll see. Obviously, you want to check to make sure your gear is all in working order before you go on any backpacking trip. I've checked all of that, and one of the things that completely had slipped my mind in previous adventures was checking the fuel level in my stove canisters. So what I did was, I thankfully have some MSR fuel canisters, and they are so awesome that they actually put markings on the can to tell you what's full and empty, and then some hashes in between to kind of gauge how much fuel is in your canister. What I did this time was I just got a big bowl, put some water in it, and sunk the canister. And what that does is, however much the canister floats will tell you where the fuel line is. And with these MSR cans, it's really easy to say, okay, well, here we are at 3/4 of a can, mark it with the Sharpie and go from there. These are the 100-gram canisters, the small ones that MSR puts out, and to be honest, I'm very surprised at how little fuel I used. Granted, I only cooked meals, I only cooked dinner every night on the trail, and boiled some water for oatmeal a couple mornings, but yeah, that was it. So I'm very grateful that I know how much fuel I've got, and based off of my previous overnights and backpacking trips, I know I'll have enough fuel for the next 4 or 5 days. So that's a huge win. All right, like I mentioned earlier, I had each of the guys film a small segment of what they're doing to prepare for this last leg of the Northville Placid Trail adventure. I'm very excited to share these with you. I hope you enjoy them as much as I did, and you'll have to let us know what you think in the comments below. First up, we're going to start with Dan and what he's focusing on to prepare for this next 5-day backpacking adventure.
One of the most important things that I do to prep is make jerky. And the reason for that is because jerky is expensive, especially in the quantity that I tend to eat and like to share with Jay, Mark, and John when we're hiking. So today I'm going to show you fairly quickly how I make venison jerky using venison from a deer I harvested this past winter, and the meat's been in the freezer. So I actually need ground venison to work with my dehydrator. It also seems like it really absorbs the flavor from the seasoning a whole lot better. Now this meat grinder is just pretty much the cheapest thing that Cabela's had. I'm going to go ahead and cut it into chunks that are going to feed into the grinder reasonably well. Unlike John, I'm not a trained knife professional. There is a chance I'm going to lose a finger. And this is going to get loud. And that's how I turn about 3 pounds of cutlets and roast into ground venison. It's reasonably safe. And given some of the stuff we've done for Jay's channel, reasonably safe is acceptable. So the next step in the jerky making process is where the magic happens. And I don't just mean because my wife has decorated her mixer with Potions Master. What I mean is I hike a lot with not just Jay, John, and Mark. I also hike with a couple of other folks. And one of the young ladies I hike with always asks me, she's about 8 years old, for my secret family recipe for jerky, because of course I share the jerky with her. The problem is I don't have a secret family recipe for jerky. I found this on the shelf at Cabela's when I was visiting my in-laws, and I thought I'd try it. And I've been using it ever since. So this next step I usually try to do when my wife is not in the house because I'm using her nice mixer. I take the seasoning packets and I'm going to dump a little bit of it in. Now the trick here is that you're going to be tempted to go on a much lower setting and go nice and slow. It's not actually good for the mixer to work that hard at that low of a setting. Oof, spicy. I use the bread kneading adapter. I've used the paddle adapter. I don't recommend the whisk. That makes a mess. Don't ask how I found that out. I'm going to put some of the ground chuck in. And you can use beef or ground pork or just about anything else. One thing I will say is if you're getting your deer processed, do not add, wow, this spice. Do not add fat to the ground meat. They'll like to do that if you plan to make sausage or if you plan to make hamburger, something where you want the flavor of the meat to cook in and cook out. And I don't want that because, well, that's not what I'm doing. I want to have less fat because the fat does not dehydrate well. So I put a little bit in, and then I put some meat in, and then I put a little more in, and a little more liqueur, this time without coughing. That's cool. What you want to do is you want to layer it in so that the meat's going to have the best chance of mixing with the seasoning and the cure. And the cure is literally just salt, I imagine, but that's okay. This 5 pounds of ground venison or ground beef or whatever else you want to use ends up making about 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds of jerky. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix this, like I said, on a medium setting. Now that I've got it reasonably well mixed in, I'm actually going to put this in a bowl. I'm going to cover it with saran wrap, and I'm going to leave it in the fridge overnight. And tomorrow is when we're actually going to do the drying. Although I will say there's a lot less excitement when it comes to the drying. All right, it is morning. I'm almost awake. And the first thing I'm doing this morning after my shower is making jerky. Now, for this, I bought Cabela's Jerky Pistol, and I'm putting it in my 10 Tray Deluxe dehydrator. You'll notice that the jerky this morning is a darker color. That's good. That means that our plan of mixing and letting it sit overnight worked. The meat has absorbed all of the tasty flavor. I suppose I could do this with my hands. The honest problem I have with that is that then my hands smell like hickory all day. That doesn't go well for anyone or anything else I'm trying to eat. The puppies smell the hickory. They're pacing around in the hopes that I'm going to drop something. And it kind of works like a caulk gun. You keep squeezing the trigger until the meat comes out, and it actually comes out in 2 strips. And I just lay it the entire length of the tray. And then what I'll end up doing is breaking it in half before I put it into a quart-sized bag once it's done drying. There you go. Future jerky. I have turned all of my ground venison into jerky strips. I'm going to put this last tray in here. Now, this particular dehydrator can handle up to 10 pounds of meat at a time. I generally don't do that. I'm afraid that if I don't use it or don't eat it, it's going to get dry to the point where it's not tasty anymore. Drying is going to take about 10 hours. I start checking around the 4-hour mark, and I'll check every 2 hours. What you're looking for is the meat is firm, but not brittle. That's about the perfect texture, at least the texture I like, for venison. So I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to wash up some of my tools, and I'll see you guys in a few hours. Okay, so it's been about 4 hours, and I'm turning it off so you guys can hear me, not because I think we're done. At this point is what I usually do is pull it out and I check them. I make sure that the meat is moving freely on the trays. I don't want it stuck to the trays. The grease that comes naturally in the meat will take care of that mostly for you. The other thing I want to do, I want to give you an idea of what's not ready. If I squeeze this, it feels a lot like I'm poking my own hand. There's no firmness to this. That means there's too much moisture in here, and we need to let it go for quite a bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to make sure everything is moving freely. And we'll go from there. Okay, so it's been about 8 hours. And I'm going to see how our jerky is doing. Just about perfect. Yep. What I'm doing is I'm feeling for firmness. You want it to be firm, but you don't want it to be brittle. That makes for dry jerky. Now, every once in a while, I'm still going to come across a strip or two that need to be cooked a little bit longer, dehydrated just a little bit longer. And that's all right. All I'll do is I'll make a tray of those and put them back into the machine and let it run for a couple more hours. So I've been through all the trays, and I've got 4 pieces that still need a little bit more time to dry. They're close, but they're not quite as dry as I prefer them. And this is about 1.5 pounds, maybe 2 pounds of jerky, which will go with me, at least most of it will go with me on the NPT. But that is it. That is the secret to my jerky making and prepping for a hike.
Yeah, so Dan's our jerky guy for this part of the adventure, and I'm pretty amped about it because he does a great job with it. So next up, we're going to have John tell us what he's doing to prepare for this backpacking adventure. Now, if you'll remember, the first part of the Northville Placid Trail from Northville to Passaico was John's very first overnighting backpacking type adventure. So he had really no idea what to expect when he was getting into this, and he learned a whole lot those first few days on the trail. So let's see what John's doing differently for this last section from Long Lake to Lake Placid.
Hey everyone, I'm really excited to be coming to you today with a video that I've been looking to do since we started planning this second section hike of the NPT. And what it's going to be is my 5 pieces of gear that I brought on my first section hike that I've learned I do not want to bring on my overnight trips. The first piece of gear that I'm planning on replacing for this trip, so it's not something that I don't want to bring, but I'm going to switch up to something different this time, is on the first section hike of the NPT, I was using the Grand Trunk Skeeter Beater. It's a shorter hammock, it's 9 or 10 feet long, and since then I've upgraded to an 11-foot hammock. It's a bit lighter, and it is a $50 hammock I got on Amazon called Ridge Outdoor Gear. Not something that I don't want to bring, but something that I've upgraded. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit bigger, will be a little bit more comfortable, and hopefully make this second section hike a little bit better for me. So the second thing I'm replacing on my list is going to be some of my hammock accessories. So last year I had the E&O Housefly rain tarp with doors, and it worked out really well. It was the perfect size for the Skeeter Beater. It rained almost the whole time we were there. It kept me nice and dry. Porch mode was good. I liked everything about it. Still a really good tarp, and I'll probably let my kids use it with the Skeeter Beater in the future. That is going to be replaced with my Hammock Rainfly XL. Again, it's lighter, it's a little bit bigger, and it'll fit the new hammock better. So it's still going to keep me dry. It should be good. It'll be a little bit lighter. Perfect. Some of the other upgrades as far as hammock accessories go is I was using these really big E&O Atlas straps. They, again, work perfectly, were really good, but I've switched over to a little bit lighter E&O Helio suspension system. The way I felt for the first section hike, I was really tired. I'm a big guy. Doing 12 miles a day is tough for me. So any of the kind of weight savings I can get for the second section hike to try and have a better time, I'm gonna grab. Another piece of hammock accessories that I'm going to ditch is going to be my E&O Twilights. What I found on the NPT is I was so tired by the time it got dark that I didn't need these. I just needed the headlamp to get into my hammock, and you know, these were kind of unnecessary, but I do really like them. So we'll see if I throw them in my pack last minute. But as of right now, I'm ditching these ounces. So the third thing that I'm giving up for this section hike is going to be my Frog Togs rain jacket. It rained almost every day and I didn't use it. I just never put it on. You just kind of had to, you know, walk through the rain, let your clothes dry out as much as they could, and keep on going. So I'm gonna ditch it this year. I am bringing my rain kilt that I have, but I don't really use it for a rain kilt. I use it for a tarp underneath my hammock to keep all my gear kind of dry and off the ground. So I'm still gonna have that with me if I need to either wrap that around my shoulders like a cape or use it as a kilt. But my actual rain jacket is going. I'm gonna save a few ounces of the Frog Togs and just not bring it. I mean, that might be a bad decision in the long run, but it rained a lot last year and I didn't use it. So anything that I'm not gonna use, I'm not gonna carry anymore. Now with my fourth thing, we're really starting to get towards the weight savings from last year to this year. Last year was my first kind of overnight hike. It was my first time doing 3 nights, 4 days. It was my first time doing multiple over 10-mile days. So again, I was learning a lot, and what I packed could have been a lot better. So one of the things I learned is my lunches. My lunches were way too heavy and took way too long to do. I'm a big guy. I thought I was gonna be super hungry all day and I was gonna need tons of calories to keep going, but it was kind of the opposite. I mean, I wasn't really that hungry. I mean, I eat a lot, I eat all the time, I love cooking, I love all those things. When I was doing that first section of the NPT, I just wasn't hungry. So if you watch any of those videos, one of the things that I had for lunches was oatmeals. These oatmeals are delicious. They work really well. They're self-heating and they're fully cooked. So you just put a little bit of water in the bag and a packet boils it and heats it up, and they're great. But if you watch on the first day, I'm all set up eating this lunch, and by the time Jay's already done with his lunch, mine is still just cooking, and we're sitting there waiting. So it was a little bit too filling for lunches. It took a little bit too long to do. The one other thing too is there's a lot of garbage you have to carry with these. The heating element is kind of heavy. So if you have 4 or 5 of these in your pack, even after you're eating them, you're not really losing that much weight. You're still kind of carrying all that garbage weight with you. So oatmeals, you're good, but they're gone. The other thing that I'm getting rid of for lunches was peanut butter. If you look at the West Stony Creek river crossing, you can see that there's a whole jar of peanut butter that's just sitting in my pack when I was trying to get my water shoes. And I didn't take more than 1 spoonful of that peanut butter the whole time. So, I mean, whatever the weight is on one of these things, it was probably about half the size, but whatever that weight is, I was carrying that the whole time. So that's gone. What I'm replacing that with is I'm gonna go the tortilla route. So I got tortilla, I got some peanut butter packets, and I got some honey packets. I'm also probably gonna bring some cheese and some salami and just do the quick, easy tortillas and kind of extras for lunch. The best part about this is there's a lot less garbage. So once I eat them, I'm not carrying it the whole trip. And last but not least is number 5, the 5th thing that I'm not bringing with me on the second section hike of the NPT, my snack bag. Again, if you look at that West Stony Creek river crossing video when I was trying to get my water shoes, pro tip, keep your water shoes on the outside of your pack, not in the bottom of it. You can see I pull out a snack bag about this size. Again, I thought I was gonna be so hungry the whole trip. I had tons of jerky, pounds of it. I mean, there was all sorts of stuff, right? I mean, there was bars, and I had at least 2 or 3 bars, I think, per day. Those things are kind of heavy, you know, nuts and jerky and chips and stroopwafels. There was stroopwafels in there. I'm getting rid of that. I'm not bringing any of those snacks. I think I'm bringing maybe 2 bars for the whole trip, maybe 3. maybe a little bit of jerky, but I mean, I probably had 8 pounds of snacks maybe, and I didn't eat them. I had a whole bag full of dried bananas, things like that, that on other day hikes I brought and I've snacked on while I was eating. But on the NPT, I wasn't hungry. I was just walking. I was having a good time. And my meals are my meals. Along with the snacks was also the drink mixes. I had probably a pouch of drink mixes about this per day. Like there's like 10 in here. There was coffees. I had energy drink mixes. I had Propels. I had iced teas for every day. I had at least one iced tea, one Propel, one coffee for every single day. This year I'm packing maybe one drink mix per day. The water tasted completely fine. I did like to have a drink mix at night, like kind of with dinner, and have an iced tea or a Propel or something like that. Sometimes in the middle of the day as a little pick-me-up, I would do that too. But drink mixes and snacks, they gotta go. Like there was just too much. If you look at that video, you can see the bag of snacks, and I carried that for 4 days. It did not get lighter. I did not eat any of it. I was struggling just to eat my breakfast, lunches, and dinners of mountain houses. So that's it. Those are the 5 things that I'm either changing up or not bringing on the section hike this year. I think that my pack will be a lot lighter, especially due to the food decreases, and I'm hoping to have a much better time.
So yeah, it looks like John learned a whole lot about backpacking, especially in the food and snacks department. I'm pretty excited that he's able to lower his pack weight significantly with some new gear, and with the realization that 20 pounds of snacks is not necessary. So this last clip is how Mark actually prepares for his upcoming backpacking trips. And you'll notice that he prepares a little differently than the rest of us. Check it out.
I feel like I should be doing something. Can't remember what it could be though. Oh. Hey Daisy. Are we supposed to be doing something? Huh. What? What are you trying to tell me? Are we supposed to go somewhere? Are you crazy? You're crazy. Here. I know I'm forgetting something. Alexa, turn off bedroom light. Oh crap! Alexa, turn on bedroom light. We're supposed to be hiking in the morning. Close. Alright, hiking pants, good enough. Hoodie, hiking pants. And shirt. That's it. How many pairs of socks do I need? All of them. All the socks. All the socks. Food. Jerky. Okay. Please. Oh. Tuna fish. That'll work. Frozen hot dogs. On cheese sticks. 1, 2, 3. 4 cheese sticks. Okay. And trail mix. Good.
Alright. Pack. Tents in there, sleeping bags there. Alright, so grab that. Bladder. I guess that's important. Daisy's pack. Okay. That's good. Ursack. Need that. Let's see. Making holes. Good. Oh, sweet. We got 2 backpacking meals. That's 2 dinners, some powder mix, and a dessert. Oh, peanut butter packets. There's some lunch. We got those in there. And cook kit. Cook kit, probably important. There's that. I don't know. Oh, suppose fuel. I need fuel. All right, ready days.
All right, see, Mark does things a little differently. I want to thank the guys for putting those together. They are not normally the camera operators, so it was a bit of a learning curve for them, but they did a great job, and I really, really appreciate all the effort that they put into that. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If you like outdoor adventure videos, gear chat, backpacking, all the outdoor stuff, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome. But most importantly, I hope that I've inspired you to get outside and do something awesome. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.